That or this?
No, this system's very fickle.
Okay. Guess that's close enough. Good evening, and welcome to the Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting for August 29th, 2023, called to order at 7 p.m., held in the Francis P. Hicks Room at 338 Main Street in the Town Hall building of Winchester, and also broadcast on YouTube TV. Present tonight are regular members Paul Marino, John Pollack, Aubrey English, Ron Dew, and Ellie Gunn. Also present is alternate member Paul Mitchell. So the way Zoning Board of Appeals works is you'll have an opportunity as each applicant to come up and present your project to the board. The board will likely have some questions for you as we go through it. And then we will open it up to the public and anybody, and we have quite a crowd tonight, anybody from the public who wishes to speak to the application will have the opportunity to do so. And then we will go back to the applicant for the final word. We'll close the public part of the hearing. The board will have a few minutes to discuss, and we will give you a decision tonight. Now, it requires 4 affirmative votes of the 5 seated members. A simple majority of 3 is not enough. You have to have 4 affirmative votes to get your project approved. So, with that, we will start with our first application, which is ZBA number 23-5328, and that is at 129 Shore Drive. Bridget and Scott Rollo. Is that how you pronounce the last name? I've never actually ever had to use that. But anyway, Rouleau. And this is for a request to create a building lot for a future single-family dwelling with a 17-foot side yard setback, a 14-foot rear yard setback, and a 30-foot front yard setback. And this is a variance request. So if you would step forward and join us. Lance, do we have the proper notifications have been mailed and received?
We have received all the budding notice, and if you'd like, I'll read into the record. Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the regular meeting on August 29th, 2023, 7 o'clock p.m. in the Francis P. Hicks Room, located on the 2nd floor of Town Hall, 338 Main Street, Winsted, to act on the following. Number 23-5328, variance for 129 Shore Drive, applicant owner Bridget and Scott Rouleau, for future single-family dwelling with 17-foot side yard setback, 14-foot rear yard setback, 30-foot front yard setback variance requests. And this was dated August 1st, 2023, with notice on August 18th and then again on the 25th.
Great, and I actually drove by the sign. It was in place, so that part of the posting was also correct. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Bridget Rouleau. Address is 136 Shore Drive, just directly across the street from the lot, which is 129 Shore Drive.
Scott Rouleau, address 136 Shore Drive, directly across the street.
Tell us what we're looking to do.
So we would like the option to build in the future a single-family home, either 2-story or maybe a garage on the first floor and a living space above. It's just shy of a quarter-acre lot. The variance is needed because of the shape of the lot. It's kind of like a pie shape. You can see in the AAC survey. So it just creates a weird, an unusual shape for conforming to the setback requirements. Also, the Highland Lake District, the regulations are to be a Shore Drive. I believe it's the second or third biggest lot on Shore Drive, so it's a significant space. It's just the setbacks and the size are non-conforming.
The proposed structure that you have on this particular drawing, there are no dimensions on that, so just, and I don't have any way to scale it, do you know what that
Yes.
structure's dimensions would be?
Yeah, so what we're proposing, and that is not to scale, so there was a write-up, hopefully you should have gotten that. So it's, the dimensions would be 40 feet wide, 27 and a half feet long, but it angles out in the front. It doesn't have to, but we were thinking have the building, have the house conform to the shape of the lot, so have an arc
A little better.
on the front. So it gives it an extra, like almost like a wing.
Right, so
Trapezoid instead of rectangular.
in the narrative that you presented to us, it's 40 feet wide and 27 and a half feet deep, right, if I'm looking at that right?
Yes, but then a little bit wider at the front.
So with those dimensions of that proposed structure as the way you've detailed them in here, that leaves you with the 17-foot side yard setbacks, and I'm guessing it's 17 both directions?
Yes,
Because that's not,
I believe it was 17.
because we're only asking where, it says, according to the application, we're looking for a 17-foot side yard setback. So are we going to assume that's both sides?
Both sides, yes, on either side, correct.
Okay, is that detailed anywhere in the application? Does
So,
anybody see that?
In the application, I had written it up as 15 feet on either, I think it was 10 feet on right side, 10 feet on left side. So I think when you guys submitted it, it was requesting 17 feet of setback. So I don't know if you combined the two, but what I put in the application was 10 feet on the left side, 10 feet on the right side.
Lance, was this the application as it came in, or is there another document, an application
No,
document?
you should have everything in that. That's the new open.gov
Got it.
printout from it. Online permit.
That's all I got.
Yeah, no, this is, apparently this is a new format for the applications to come in electronically, I guess?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So, Lance, how did we get from the application looking for, well, let me read the application again, because now I'm looking at it and I see. So the variance requested is a 10-foot rear setback, result in a structure that would have a 25-foot rear setback instead of 35 feet. Side yard, all right, so 10 feet left and right is what you have in the application.
Right, so on either side, we'd have 25 instead of the required 35 feet.
Right.
Okay. So on the rear is requesting 10, the application that you gave us, Lance, says 14. I'm just trying to put the numbers together here. Do we know where they changed? Because we have it on the motion the same way. I mean, if we take the application as written, then the variances we're looking for are not what's on the agenda or the motion. What we're looking for would be a 10-foot rear yard setback So again, I'm gonna ask you, the proposed structure, the way you've drawn it, the rear of that structure to the property line would be 10 feet?
No, it would be 25 feet. It's a 10-foot variance request.
Oh, okay, would be 25 feet. So
Yes. So it would be
unfortunately, we don't,
25 feet instead of 35 feet.
I wish we had a site plan that kind of detailed what you're looking for exactly. That's typically what we need to work with, is your surveyor would take your survey, plunk down a building, and give us all the dimensions, really, so we can approve it. I don't know, can we approve without that site plan, just using the application numbers?
It's a proposed structure, so I feel like yes.
So we would be setting in these setbacks, essentially, based on the application, and at such time, now, so once we approve that, they don't have to come back here when they actually get a plan, or do they? Because we have to,
They would come before land use department, and then if they wanted to vary from anything from your conditions of approval, then they have to come back again.
I see.
So what we decide now would be requirements for what they want to do in the future.
We would be setting the setbacks on all four sides, essentially, based on the application.
Can we actually do that? We're giving a variance on something that doesn't exist yet.
Right, that doesn't make too much sense.
We're told that's been done before.
You know, I don't know, because typically, we have a real proposed structure, here's what we really want to do, and we approve that. Approving a maybe, I don't know, Lance, I'm gonna throw that to you. I don't know if that's, I mean, something we have, my time on the board, we've never done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you and I, we've been on the board the same amount of time here, and I don't
Yes.
recall ever doing that.
No.
Yeah.
Usually, we have, you have your site plan, have all your dimensions, this is where this is gonna be, this is where this is gonna be, this is where it's proposed, this is why we need this. I mean, you have some answers to those questions already, but having a more detailed plan by a surveyor there too, that would answer a lot more questions there, that keep everybody on the same page and in conforming with our regulations would be better.
Yeah, I'm
to do
not
so.
sure we can approve a hypothetical, and that's kind of what we have, right?
So here's what happened in real life. The application was brought before us, and Jeff Green, our zoning enforcement officer, basically did an exercise where he could figure out what could be the building envelope according to our regulations now. And that was, unfortunately, probably should have been on this plan. And then what was the ask for expanding into it would be a little clearer on what you were
Yeah, I mean, essentially, with rare exception, every property in Highland Lake District needs to come here, because virtually all of them are non-compliant, are non-conforming. So we have to look at each project individually and decide, does it make sense to the neighborhood? Is it a variance that makes sense in general? And we take each one on a case-by-case basis. I understand what occurred. They have a lot that hasn't been improved, at least in anybody's memory. If it ever had anything on it, I don't know, but it hasn't been improved. And I think we need to have a real plan before we could actually,
You folks aren't planning to, break ground anytime soon or anything like
No.
that? I mean, I
This
know you.
is- This, so we were told we could do this with the intent of, like, here's what the footprint would be, because we might even, some point down the line, sell it, so we wanted it to go, so it would be, you can build within these dimensions.
yeah, it's so, and
Well-
again, I can only throw it back to Lance to see if we have the authority. I don't know that we can approve a hypothetical. I've never done it. You've never done it.
No. What,
Suppose the regulations change, if we grant a variance on a hypothetical now, and the regulations change, what's gonna happen?
But if we granted a variance, Ron, on a real project, they brought us a
A real
project,
project, it's
right?
different.
And we granted a variance, but they didn't build for 5 years, and the regs changed,
Right,
they'd be fine,
right,
yeah, that'd be
exactly.
grandfathered in here.
Yeah.
right?
So, let me ask you this, since they basically paid their fee to come before this commission here, I mean, we can continue this until they have the actual plans here, and they wouldn't have to shell out another fee for this. We can
That
just
is correct. Yeah, we can absolutely continue. You could get a site plan drawn with a real building, with all the dimensions. You could get that approved, whether you ever build it or not.
you know,
That's up to you.
you know,
But you
that-
could get something approved. This is really not enough for us to act on.
That's just.
You wouldn't need necessarily, you might need an architect to give you an idea of what you want to build. You wouldn't need an architect drawing. I mean, we
Yeah,
would need,
that's an idea.
we would actually need a site plan, so a survey with the building on it with all the setback dimensions and the pervious coverage, the proposed pervious coverage, including the driveway, all of that, right? And then we would need some sort of detail on what the building would look like. And that can be, typically an architect can do a rough sketch for you. And I think that's really what we need to give you a final approval.
How long would this be, the application, because I'm trying to figure out, we've spent a lot of money improving the lot, which, so now to layer in, and I understand where you're coming from, I'm not challenging that, I'm just in my head trying to figure out, do we continue investing money in this on a chance it, a chance it might not get approved, or we just say, just call it a day, leave the application?
So we can't give you a percentage of opportunity that's gonna
No,
get
not
approved,
that.
but here's what I would say. I think your application's good for 60 days, right, Lance?
65.
65 days from the time it came in. So you have well within the next meeting, or even potentially you could come to the next meeting in September. You might
You can
might
ask for a
also,
continuance as well.
It's very difficult to get a surveyor there to start. You know, I mean, we have, I'm just trying to think of,
to your other question, though, you might go back online and read minutes from previous meetings to see what types of variances have been approved. That can give you some homework to see what you feel your chances are, and then decide whether you want to come back or not. But I don't think we have enough to work with here to actually move forward with it. And to Aubrey's point, we can certainly continue it. You're not going to pay another fee to come back here. And what you need isn't a full-blown architectural drawing. You need a rough sketch on what you think the building's gonna look like, and you need the dimensions put onto the survey.
we need dimensions from the property line to the corner, the closest corners.
Yes. Yep.
And that's with your proposed structure that you'd be putting there too.
Right.
So, yeah, just to, have all that information, have all those ducks in a row, so to say. And, so that way, we as a board can be following the regulations, and, that would leave for less opportunity for it to be questioned down the road within like the court systems or something as well too. And this could probably, hopefully, maybe speed up your process of getting your proposed structure there, if it falls within our regulations, so.
I mean, even if you did decide to sell the property, you have a set of approved drawings to go with it, essentially. So, I think with that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to continue this application to the next meeting, which is September what, Lance?
September.
I always throw the tough questions at you.
No, that's why I brought my calendar. I know I'm gonna be just getting.
Actually,
back,
I
so
have it
it's
too. Let's see if I get it before you do. How about September 26th?
26th,
Yes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will happily take a look at this for you in September with just a little bit more
How
information.
far in advance do you need, in advance of the meeting, do you need all the documents?
We reach out to you, it'll be the same. Actually, you don't have to notice the neighbors again. It'll be just like a continuance of this, so that schematic's a part of it. We'll work with you, and I also want to talk with you more about what will be helpful to show. So,
And I asked that because we might have to October, the rest of the week.
That'd be fine.
You know,
And-
because we're traveling for 2.5 weeks for
that's
work,
totally fine.
so-
When the 65-day window is coming close, you can ask for another continuance.
Okay.
We just have to have it in writing, and you're fine. It won't expire.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So different question, so we have a couple of neighbors here that give support of the pig report over the winter. Are they able to?
I would ask them, unfortunately, we're not going to have anything for them to support at the moment. I would ask them to, if they're going to be in Florida, to send an email to you, which we'll read into the record.
Okay, they can send it.
Absolutely.
Email or a letter.
Yep. They can send it right to the board, or they can send it to you, and we will include it in the record.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Can I just make an observation, having gone through this not too long ago? It would have been, I think, beneficial for them had they been told to have a drawing, even though it wasn't real, to have that as part of their survey coming to this meeting. So I'm just saying, you know, maybe that information should have been imparted before they got this far.
Point taken.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you.
Everybody's going to leave us now. All right. I don't think we can actually have you do that now. We'd love to have you enter it as part of the public record when we meet again. Yes, please.
Yeah, when we come back for a meeting, public comments, you're welcome to hear anything about your issues.
Yeah, we have to have it in the public forum.
Gotcha, I understand, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Next is ZBA 23-5329, a variance request at 209 Perch Rock Trail, applicant Nancy Frink. A new deck reconstruction for a 32 square foot timber cantilevered roof over front door in need for 7.52 feet side yard and 10.01 feet front yard setback variance, and the creation of a 14 square foot garage door overhang for a 6.3 foot front yard setback variance and a 3.62 minimum side yard setback variance for a screened-in porch. Are you Nancy Frank?
Yes, I am.
Please identify yourself with your address for the record, please.
Nancy Frank, 209 Perch Rock Trail, East City, Connecticut.
And Lance, do we have all the proper notifications?
Yet again, so there's all that notice. And if you want to just skip down to ZBA number 235320, variance request location 209 Perch Rock Trail. Applicant owner is Nancy Frink. Proposal, Frink? Yes. Proposal, new deck reconstructing for a 32 square foot timber cantilevered roof over front door in need for 7.52 feet side yard and 10.01 feet front yard setback variance, and the creation of a 14 square foot garage door overhang for 6.30 feet front yard setback variance and 30.62 zone minimum side yard setback variance for the new screened-in porch. This is dated August 3rd, 2023, again posted on August 18th and again on the 25th.
Lance, did you say 5320 on the application?
235329.
Okay.
I may have said 20, but sorry.
Yeah, so 53, we also have 5330 coming, which is going to be the special permit that goes along with this, I guess. But we're going to start with the variance first, which is 5329. Sir, would you identify yourself for the record?
My name is Robert Colabella. I'm a senior project engineer with Haley Woods. renovate an existing structure at the lake. So
Sorry, John.
I'm going to start by reading, unless you want to, I'm going to start by reading into the record the neighbors, 3 letters that we got from each of others.
We'll actually get to those in the public hearing portion.
Okay,
Yeah.
you'll take care of that?
Absolutely will.
Perfect.
I'll read them into the
All right.
record for you.
That's perfect. So then,
You can't take my job.
so then, well, we have attachment A attached to this, and the applicant proposes renovation of an existing non-conforming structure. Specifically, the applicant's proposal includes the following items. One is to construct a front dormer, which is this hatched section right here. This rear dormer is existing, right here. And this is the dormer that she wants. Now, the rear dormer, the height of the rear dormer is going to be taller than the new dormer going in the front. So we don't have a height. It's not going outside the footprint. It's staying within the footprint. It's a few feet short of this edge, and it's a few feet short of this edge, and it's going out towards the front. But what we're seeking the variance for are the 3 items in green. So what I did was, there's a garage door here, and we're seeking, I'll read the variance part of that. So, variance 1 would be a 32 square foot cantilever overhang proposed at this location, will serve as a covered entrance. That's the one above right here at the doorway. That's the entrance, the main entrance to the house. Please consider 1, the roof doorway overhang is cantilevered, and as such won't add to the house footprint at ground level. 2, it will act as a safety measure to provide ingress and egress to the main entrance unencumbered during precipitation events. And 3, it is more representative of existing main entrances along Perch Rock Trail. And 4, it will aid in attenuating the buildup of ice at the doorway threshold. So I went up and down Perch Rock just to see what everybody else's doorways look like. And not everyone, but the majority of them have an overhang above their doorway to protect themselves while they're going in and out of their main entrance. And variance 2 is the 14 square foot cantilevered roof overhang proposed at this location, which is above the garage door, right here. It only sticks out 18 inches. The garage door overhang is cantilevered by only 1 foot 6 inches, and as such won't additionally add to the house footprint at ground level. It is more representative of garage doors along Perch Rock Trail. It's the same idea here as other homes along the road. And it will aid in attenuating the buildup of ice at the door, considering that the driveway is extremely flat and really water had started to build up there. And it's not really conducive for, the possibility of sliding as you're entering the doorway. So at least it'll keep ice off that front edge from dripping off the roof and down onto and variance 3. The covering and screening. So right here, this brown portion, underneath the green, the deck actually extends all the way to the back. This is an existing deck. It's also under this green. And a variance was issued for this deck back in, and you have a copy of it in your package. Variance was approved, and so what she's actually looking to do is she's looking to rebuild it because it's in place, it's not going to go any further, and it's just in place rebuild of. I mean, this thing is in really bad condition. It just needs to be replaced. Boards are pitted and rotted, and it's a problem actually. So, but to that end, she was looking to screen in the back half of this portion, which is way in the corner, surrounded by a lot of vegetation already. And so the covering and screening of a portion of the in-place reconstructed deck is approximately 125 square feet and will ultimately serve as a covered entrance because there's an ingress and egress there too. Ingress and egress and assembly. Please consider 1, the proposed roof screening will not increase the encroachment into the side yard. 2, a variance already exists for the side yard where the screen porch will be located. And then 3, it is common practice near bodies of water to employ a screened-in porch to reduce the risk of insects. that lives around the lake knows what that brings with it, you know, so. And she needs a little bit of a safe space, just to go out there and be able to enjoy, and really don't really have a great view of the, and one of the fortunate things about that screened-in porch and where she decided to put it is that both of the neighbors, left and right, their houses are forward of her home. So when there's no blocking and in back, behind her, there's a lot of vegetation already, and, you know, that is not really blocking anybody's view of the lake. Specifically, the three abutters who have all, which you will read into the record later, have already looked at these plans and taken a look at them. So those are our, so this is the variance portion, but, so those are our variance requests. The front yard variance for the two overhangs are 7.52 feet. For the first overhang, which is the 32 square foot above the main entrance, is 7.52 feet in the side yard, and the front yard variance is 10.01 feet. The garage door overhang has a 6.3 foot front yard variance request. It meets the side yard setbacks. And variance 3, well, it's already set in stone over there that it's already 4.4 feet. There's been a variance here, so that is the side yard right now because of the variance that was issued back in 84?
I think I read that, yeah.
So we're not increasing the footprint of this structure at all for the variance portion of this, other than the garage overhang, because the door overhang actually had a porch there before. So there was a footprint under there. There was an existing porch. You don't see it here because as the special permit is the blue part and the pink part that we're about to talk to in the next phase, but you don't see it here. So really the variances that she's looking for, two of them pertain to that front main entrance, front and side yard. And the other two, the screened-in porch and the overhang at the garage door, is quite minimal. And the side yard one, for the screened-in portion of the porch, not changing what the variance that's existing now. So it's basically that 18-inch overhang that's kind of like the elephant in the room.
And that is the door or the garage? Which one was that?
Garage door, that's
Okay.
the garage door, it
Right.
sticks out 18 inches. The other two, like I said, the screened-in porch and the main overhang, the 34 by 8, 32 square feet, 4 foot out, 8 foot wide, to cover the doorways, handling of groceries, whatever coming in. There's only those two ingresses and egresses right now, one by that screened-in porch and one underneath that entrance that we're looking for a variance for. So open the floor to any questions you might have.
I actually have a question for Lance to start. So we allow for overhangs above entrances up to a certain point automatically. Do you know what that is? Apparently it's smaller than a 4x8, 32 square feet. I don't remember, I know I can't quickly put my hands on it, but I know we allow for an automatic on the overhangs for front doors.
Yeah, I don't know it offhand. I can quit my regulations.
Dave has a
You're
set
right,
of-
though.
No, he actually does, but
What's that? Oh,
Dave has a set of regs with him, but he just went out to go get something. But I have read that.
Actually,
I have regs with me too, but I don't.
I have read that portion before, but we felt it's safe to come here and ask for the variance rather than,
Yeah, my curiosity is how far over that, number that we allow, that we are. I mean, I think that would be, but anyway, I was just wondering if anybody knew that off the top of their heads. I know I've read it, but I have never put my fingers on it in 2 minutes. All right, so we're looking, I don't know, I don't particularly have any questions. Does anybody on the board have questions for the applicant?
Just, Rob, remind me, what area is kind of rotted out? You said some boards were rotted out, where is
oh,
that?
that whole side deck is shot.
Okay, so what's
Are
this-
you using it at
No,
all?
well, the stairs are dangerous.
I was
to
gonna say, it's a
get up.
safety issue.
Yeah, well, absolutely, right now it is, for sure.
I mean, the deck, as I understand it too, is The deck, as I understand it, is a rebuild, but however, we want to cover a portion of it.
Correct, the deck
Right.
is rebuilt in its exact
Yeah, I
position.
mean, the rebuilds
That part, and there's already been a variance for that, but the reason we're here for
is
this
is to
variance
screen in part of
So she
it.
could screen in a portion of it, which, I had gone back and forth with somebody in the office about this, and he slapped me in the head a couple of times and said, Rob, get the variance, or ask for the variance. I was thinking, well, we already have a variance in there, but if you read the variance, it actually says for a deck. And we're screening in a portion of it.
How are you reducing impervious coverage? Because you show a reduction.
Yes. So, we are removing, I think the reduction is quite minor, right?
It is, but
So.
it's not going up, so.
Yeah, so there's a concrete or asphalt, that walkway you see in pink is asphalt, gonna turn it into permeable pavers. There's a retaining wall along the edge of the driveway that's being removed, completely, we're just grading it back underneath the deck, and then, and then what we're adding is just because there's gonna be grass underneath the deck, so that doesn't become impervious when we go to the special permit part. The only thing we're really adding as far as impervious goes are the 3 green spots. And we're taking out the pink, and there's a retaining wall, and I'm trying to remember what else. Hold on, because I got it right here. Zoning information table, impervious coverage. So the difference actually ended up being, minor. Glasses.
Well, you're showing almost a 1% drop.
Right, and it was just the difference between taking out the retaining wall. along
And that
there,
asphalt wall.
And these pavers. Oh, and this porch was impervious, that was out here. It was a concrete stairs and concrete porch. That's coming out too. So we're removing this porch that's underneath. As a matter of fact, if I go up one, there it is.
That's the.
So this is existing. So all of this walk is coming out. This set of stairs was impervious. This porch and these stairs are impervious. This is impervious. This wall is impervious. And what we're adding in is this little green spot here, a cover over the portion of the old porch, which wouldn't even take up the whole porch, and then this over here. So it gets rid of this walk that used to veer off to
Yeah.
that side. So there's quite a bit of sidewalk, walkway coming out.
Over the stairway.
And then by
Did you
removing
find
that, by removing that impervious,
Section D.
D.
It doesn't give any specific measurements.
No. Over the doorway.
Over the doorway. Probably within reason.
This says steps. Am I missing the part on covered?
Well, there's steps there.
Steps for building access.
I was asking, what I was curious about was we have an automatic for the overhangs. Is that in here?
yeah, I don't think it gives a square footage. I think it just talks about access.
Over the door.
As long as it's over the main ingress and egress, it's allowed. But, we've been before.
Oh, steps may be covered for purposes.
Yeah, it's not habitable space, that's.
So
Okay.
to answer your impervious question, this whole L shape here is coming out completely. This porch, which was impervious, all of this impervious is coming out and gets, oops, wrong way. We're adding in this little piece of green here, which is already over the impervious driveway.
Yeah.
So it's really not, so it's just this portion right here and this. to take-
So the porch, is the covered, the deck is the whole section on the side there.
This round, yes.
Is the porch the green, the covered part gonna be the green
Yeah,
section?
so if I go back to existing, that's the existing deck right here.
Right.
And then come back down, and she's just covering.
And
that
the
down.
covering is in the rear yard?
Rear back,
Okay,
back in the back.
thank you.
So you're putting a roof over the screened-in porch, obviously.
Yeah, right, that's why we believe it's
So,
a variance. is
so it now
required.
becomes, the house is 4.5 feet from the property line, not the deck. There's-
Correct,
there's-
that's why we're here for a variance.
There's a
That's why we're here for a variance, because the variance, as I mentioned earlier,
Right.
is just for the deck. So we're here to ask for a variance, and one of the reasons, and if you look now, the way she has to enter now is to either come in here, and the only way to this is to get up these all of this is shop. So coming up these stairs, you're trying to get in through here. So when we go back to, going the wrong way. We come in here, now she can come up, doesn't have to add another sidewalk to get over to the deck. So she would, you know, if we go through the special permit process, it gets approved, she'd be able to come up here, work her way around the deck, and she'd have a covered area for this entrance and a covered area for this entrance. And then while she was at it with the screened porch, it was, you know, a place where she could sit outside and, you know, not be bothered by all the detriments that come with being outside around the lake. Considering we're gonna be adding a rain garden too, we're introducing even more water to the property, so.
I'm very familiar with the house.
Is there any reference to the other houses? The position of the other houses, you mentioned some of them are pushed forward. Is there like a drawing or?
So if this house, the front of this house is here,
Yeah,
the front of the neighbors are up here, and this neighbor, they're both forward of this house towards
Okay.
the Birch Rock Trail.
okay.
So hers sits behind, and theirs is up in
So you
front.
can't like, you know, reach over and shake the other person's hand through the.
Oh, no, they're not right next door, no.
Okay, I didn't see anything.
There's a there's a driveway right
The driveway separates the house from
here.
house to house, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, more questions pertaining to the variances?
Any other questions from the board? At this time, we will open it up then, if anybody from the public would like to speak to this application, and it would be the time that we'll enter those letters you have into the record.
You can do that.
I will. Do I have them?
Oh, they're in your packet. They should be in your packet.
Three emails, right?
There's a lot of paper in this packet.
I know,
There's
I'm
three
sorry.
emails, I think, there too.
They might be in the other packet.
That's all right, I have them.
I separated my special permit packet, so.
This email is from the direct abutter behind with the house. This one is from the Farrells, which they're actually going through the process of redoing their house right next door. That's the one on this side, looking at the screen, and this is the neighbor, Lamanquist, to the other side.
All right.
Those are the three direct abutters.
So we'll start with a email dated July 17th, 2023, to whom it may concern, from Jeremiah G. Beach and Doreen Beach at 222 East Wakefield Boulevard, Winsted, Connecticut. The rear of my property borders the rear of 209 Perch Rock Trail in Winsted, Connecticut, owned by Nancy Frank. We have no issues or concerns over the planned renovation being completed at 209 Perch Rock Trail, Winsted, Connecticut, and it is signed by Jeremiah and Doreen Beach. The next email comes from Rob Calabella.
No,
Oh,
that's the email too.
I'm sorry. Yes, it's,
She forwarded it to me.
this is from Kathleen A. Farrell at 207 Perch Rock Trail, dated July 13th, 2023. Subject 209 Perch Rock Trail improvements. Hi Nancy, this is Kathleen Farrell, your next door neighbor at 207 Perch Rock Trail. I am very happy about the improvements, renovations you are planning for your home. It will be a tremendous improvement and beautiful addition to the lake and neighborhood. I look forward to seeing it upon completion. Signed, Kathleen Farrell. And finally, an email from Joanne and John Lamanquist at 211 Perch Rock Trail in Winsted, Connecticut. This is also dated July 18th, 2023. Hi Nancy, we have looked over the site proposal for 209 Perch Rock Trail and have no issues with your proposed renovations. Thank you for reaching out, and it's signed by John and Joanne Lamanquist at 211 Perch Rock Trail. Those are entered into the record, and not seeing anyone else from the public that, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Please come forward if you would, and just give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Leah Muller. I'm from 139 East Lake Street. I'm here on another matter, but this came up and I do have a question. I hope that other matter is still on the agenda. You had mentioned dormers and one being higher than the other, not exceeding the original footprint. I'm just wondering if that's part of this, you mentioned phases to this project. I'm just wondering if those dormers, because I'm looking online and I'm not seeing a dormer in the front that you mentioned, and a dormer that is going to be added in the back that's gonna be taller.
No, the
No,
dormer in the
The
front.
dormer in the back is existing, and it's already taller than the dormer that's being added in the front. So if you look at the screen, you see, I'll hold the cursor there. You see this hatched, it's got the stripes going across it? So this line down the center is the ridge line of the house.
Okay.
This dormer out back has a not as steep a pitch as the dormer that's going out in front, which is much steeper. So the way they measure roofs in the HL district, when you have a flat roof, is to the mean level of the roof. So the mean level of the existing rear dormer is going to be taller than the proposed. And there's actually, this might even help even more.
So the addition is not gonna be any taller than what's already existing?
No.
And one of the letters that you received was from your neighbor across the street, am I correct?
On each side and the rear, so the three abutting properties.
And the other side is the lake?
Well,
No.
there isn't a home.
This isn't on the lake, this is on the other side.
Yeah.
So here's the house. So the front dormer, which is to the right, you look at that lower right-hand one right here.
Yep.
So this is the front dormer?
My only concern
And
is
that's
that no
the-
one's view is gonna be affected by this.
Correct.
Perfect, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you're
Thanks for
welcome.
the project.
Thank you. And now, not seeing anybody else from the public, we will close the public portion of the hearing. And any last words regarding your variance application?
Nancy?
I have no.
No? I'll say.
Okay. We will, so we've closed the public portion of the hearing, and any discussion among the board? Then, motion to grant a variance from section 2.G.B.II for zoning regulations for application 23-5331 for construction of a 4x8 or 32 square foot roof over main entrance requiring a 10.01 front yard variance and a 7.52 side yard variance. Construction of a 9-foot 4-inch by 1-foot 6-inch roof overhang over garage door opening requiring a front yard variance of 6 feet 3 inches. Construction of a 10-foot 5-inch by 12-inch roofed screened-in porch requiring a side yard variance of 30.62 as per the drawings submitted for the property located at 209 Perch Rock Trail. Do I have a second?
Second.
Again, any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations, you have your variance.
Thank you.
Now, moving on to application number 23-5330 at 209 Perch Rock Trail, a motion to grant a special exception for application to allow for a pre-existing non-conforming structure where the original variance approved in August 15th, 1984, volume 180, page 436. And this is for the special permit. And if you would continue on.
So the applicant proposes renovation of an existing non-conforming structure. Specifically, the applicant's proposal includes the following items requiring a special exception permit. 1, the construction of a front dormer. The entire dormer will be constructed within the existing house footprint and will not increase the home's building height, nor will it exceed the maximum building height within the HL district zone's dimensional requirements. 2, in-place reconstruction of an existing deteriorating 39 years old side yard deck the original construction of the deck was the subject of an approved variance entered into the land records on August 15, 1984. The variance application is enclosed in this submission. Expansion of the existing deck over grass, and that's this blue area that we're looking at. So she wants to wrap the deck around because now she's gonna, to get our impervious, which we had to remove this walk and these stairs. We only have one set of stairs coming up to the place now, and there's two entrances. And the only other way to get to that other little tiny set of stairs is to make your way around the back. So, to that end, she wanted to add this blue section of deck, and it's gonna be over grass, so it will not increase the impervious. We also added the required buffer strip over here between her and the Farrells. This side is entirely vegetated, you can almost not see the house at times on the other side, and it already has a wide enough buffer. So, that's gonna wrap around the front. The expanded portion of the deck shall be 30 feet long. It's gonna stick out by 8 feet, and will include new entry steps that will be 8 feet wide at the deck surface and 6 feet wide at the ground level, for a total of 35 square feet. The final size of the reconstructed portion of the deck and the deck addition shall be 338 square feet. So, that's what she's here for, special permit. And special permits require LID improvements, hence the permeable pavers and the rain garden, which has been sized to handle the first 1 inch of stormwater. The pink portion, the stairs, is just to replace the stairs that were there. The removal of the retaining wall, and because it's already in failure mode, and sooner or later gravity wins when it comes to retaining walls. If it leans, it's gonna fall eventually. So that's just gonna be sloped back under the deck, and then, so these are moderate improvements to the house. I mean, this is the only thing that's getting added to the house at this moment, other than these two little green things. I mean, this is over an existing area, the dormer's over an existing area. This roof that we're putting over here is actually over the main ingress and egress. This one is over impervious coverage already, and it's gonna protect the garage door, which has no protection whatsoever right now on a flat driveway. That's becoming a problem. So this blue area will make it so that we can come up one walkway, enter through here, or come in through this door by just walking around on the deck and coming in through the side. There's some grading going on. If you look at the existing grading right here in the back, everything goes towards the house. So we built a berm around the rain garden because we don't want to introduce any extra water from the ground into the rain garden. So that any water that makes its way over here will make its way around this, and this drainage swale, which is intermittent and only has water in it during a rainstorm, comes off of East Wakefield Boulevard, kind of cuts through everything. And if you look at the edge of the road, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 catch basins. The town has a pump station here. The town also has a generator over here with a concrete pit that houses the day ball full of fuel. And, you know, so she's trying to get water to stop coming up to the house, you know, which is a problem. And the grading we're talking about here is minor, 6 inches to a foot tops, anywhere across it. The top 6 inches, that's gonna be topsoil anyway. So there really isn't a heavy amount of grading going on. It's just restructuring it so it doesn't go right to the house, kind of makes its way around the house and makes its way over to this intermittent water course. So those are the two improvements that are outside of the existing structure, and they require a special permit. Now, we don't require a variance for the front yard for reasons as such. We exercised that a few weeks ago, right, when we were here. So there's the 20-foot line from the front yard, it goes right across here, and she's well beyond that. So she's not, the deck is allowed in that location, but it does require a special exception because she's putting it onto a non-conforming structure.
Do you know, that new deck is connected directly to the existing deck, correct?
It will be, yes.
Same level, so considered one deck.
It will be.
What is the square footage total?
338 square feet, I read it into the record.
Okay.
I read it. The final size of the reconstructed portion of the deck and the deck addition shall be 338 square feet.
Thank you.
It's under the 400 square foot.
Thank you. Yep.
Because half of that existing deck will no longer be a deck, right? Be part of the house.
Right.
We just went through that, right? So it's only that half of the, that you see now and the blue, and that's the proposed deck.
Understood. Any other questions from the board? Once again, we will open this portion up to the public for anyone who would like to comment about this project. Seeing none, we will close it to the public. Any final thoughts?
I've seen much more egregious, existing non-conforming stuff around the lake, but I think she's attacked this in a moderate fashion. She hasn't, I mean, she's looking to improve it. I don't know if anybody's been out and taken a look at it, but it could use the improvement. Almost everybody next to her, Mancus is already improved, the Farrells are improving right now, and so hers is kind of like the last one in that section that hasn't been improved.
And I did want to mention one thing, the deck, the existing deck, it is level with the doorway. So the plan is when the deck is removed, there'll be a step down, so it'll be a little bit lower, 6 inches, no more than the rise is legal, that's what, 8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, we will close the public hearing and a motion to grant special exception for application number 23-5330 to allow the renovations to pre-existing non-conforming structure with original variance approval on August 15th, 1984, as shown in volume 180, page 436. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Then we'll take a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you.
For the 129 motion, can you maybe write down that it's just been continued and sign
Sure.
just for
I'll get that to you
formality of it?
before we finish.
Okay.
Next, application number 23-5331 for a special permit at 149 East Lake Street. Owners Daniel Rocher and Gunjan Prakish. Addition to a non-conforming structure, expansion of existing deck, construction of a rain garden, and other miscellaneous site work. Sir, would you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name is David Batista. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Connecticut. I'm employed by Haley Ward Incorporated at 140 Willow Street here in Winston. I'm the engineer for the project, and I'm here tonight representing Gunjan Prakash and Daniel Razor in their request for 2 special exceptions that is required to expand an existing non-conforming structure at 149 East Lake. For the record, we've submitted our certificates of mailing, so the town should have those. And I just signed the certification of notice regarding the sign. I'll submit that for the file.
And Lance, you can validate the post receipts?
Yes, and if you like, I'll read. So legal notice, ZBA number 23-5331, special permit, location 149 East Lake Street, applicant owner Danielle, who helped me, so it's Razor and Genyan Pradesh? Prakash, thank you. Proposal, addition to existing non-conforming structure, expansion of an existing deck, construction of a rain garden, and other miscellaneous site work. Interested parties may appear to be heard. This was dated on the 17th of August and was published on the 18th and the 25th.
Thank you. Sorry.
one, the applicants propose to expand an existing non-conforming structure under section 3.6, excuse me, 3.C.6 of the Winchester zoning regulations. And number two, the applicants propose to expand an existing deck above and beyond the 400 square foot threshold under section 2.G.4 of the Winchester zoning regulations. Both of those require special exceptions, and I'll elaborate on the details of those during my presentation. The first sheet in our set is a Class A2 boundary survey by Decatur Land Surveying Services that essentially shows the existing condition. The subject property is 0.28 acre or 12,260 square feet. It's on the westerly side of East Lake Street, and so East Lake Street is way up here off the drawing. The property is essentially landlocked in that it has no frontage on East Lake Street. It gains access to East Lake Street through an easement, a driveway on an easement. It's actually a common driveway that serves other properties down here. And my clients have an easement or right-of-way over this driveway to East Lake Street. The property is bounded on the north and east. North is here and east on this side by Cheryl Kelly at house number 151. And on the south by Jeffrey and Ulla Jacobs, house number 137. And the parcel is considered a rear lot, which I mentioned. The subject property is non-conforming, the lot itself, with respect to the minimum lot area and the maximum impervious coverage. I'll elaborate on that. And the existing dwelling is non-conforming with respect to minimum front yard and minimum side yard. Again, I'll elaborate. I'm going to move to a little bit more detailed existing condition plan. The building envelope, or the area that's actually where someone could actually build a house, as defined by the setback lines, is this square right here. It's not very big, and as the chairman mentioned in the previous application, just about every property at Highland Lake has similar situations. So the house itself sticks way out into the front yard. This is the front lot line right here. And it also protrudes into the side yard setbacks in this area here. Existing conditions are fine on the west side going towards Highland Lake. Highland Lake is way over here on the left and to the north. There's a lot happening on this little lot. We have an existing home and a storage shed are shown in tan. Here's the storage shed, here's the house. There's a wraparound deck on the northwest and south sides shown in brick color. So there's existing deck that wraps all the way around three sides of the house here. It terminates near the middle of the house. There are small utilities shown in purple down in this area, things like sewage grinder pump cover, HVAC unit, etc. Those are shown in purple. And
Since we can't really read it, what is the square footage of the existing deck?
I have that information. Give me 1 second and I will tell you. The existing deck, including the stairways, is 945 square feet. And we'll talk about the proposed deck in a minute. The deck is not considered impervious surface, however, we have a lot of impervious things going on underneath the deck. Along the entire western side of the house, underneath the deck is a concrete patio right now, that's considered impervious. And we have a driveway over here, this is all paved with hot mix asphalt, that's impervious. And we have a gravel parking area down in here, which by town definition is impervious. Even though it's crushed stone, it's something that vehicles could park on, and the town has historically considered those surfaces to be impervious. If not the day they're built, at some point thereafter, they become mixed with soil and dirt and They're not as likely to drain as a crushed stone layer, let's say, underneath a deck that never sees heavy shower. So as noted earlier, we have some existing non-conforming situations going on. With respect to lot area, the minimum lot area in our zone is 40,000 square feet. We're at 12,260, or only 0.28 acre. The maximum impervious coverage allowed in the HL district is 15%. The existing site now, by calculation, is 29.8% impervious. With respect to the house or the structure itself, we have a front yard minimum by zoning of 50 feet in the HL district, which would be from this front setback line all the way to the property line. The existing house is 21.9 feet, right in this area here. The side yard minimum in the HL district is 35 feet minimum. We meet that clearly on the north side, but on the south side, the closest point is 16.6 feet, which is right here between the southerly property line and the corner of the deck right here. I'll move on to the proposed condition. This plan shows the applicant's proposal with the existing house, the existing storage shed, and a proposed new roof over an entry point shown in tan. So we have the house, existing house is here in tan, that storage shed I mentioned earlier is in tan, those will stay. And we have a tan area up here, which is just it's a rooftop over an entrance, set of stairways, and a deck. This deck is all the same elevation going all the way around, same elevation as the existing deck, but they wanted to cover the area where their entrance will be into the house. The proposed addition is shown in green right here, so they're gonna bump the house out closer to Highland Lake. The wraparound deck, which would be completely reconstructed, is really gonna start here at the top of these stairs, go all the way around the house, and back to a termination, the same termination point where it is right now. So there's really no changes in this area. We're adding deck right here because we have a new addition going in. This part of the deck is basically the same size as the existing condition. If I could just jump back over here. Oh, I went the wrong way. So this is the existing deck. If you can imagine just cutting that off and moving it out closer to the lake. So the real additions to the deck are right here along the south side of the addition and right here along the north side of the addition. Everything else is more or less as it was before. The existing utilities, again, are shown in purple down here. Those will not change. And we're proposing rain gardens, which are shown in blue, at the two corners of the deck. And we have a little gap right here so people can come down the stairs and walk across a lawn area to get to the lake without having to walk through a rain garden. The zoning information table in the lower left corner of the drawing compares zoning compliance issues from the existing to proposed conditions. If you study that table, you'll see that all portions of the existing and proposed structures on the north side comply with the front yard requirements. So we have no special exceptions or variances or anything on this side of the site. Everything that we're doing is clearly in excess of the required side yard. The proposed deck and the new roof over the deck at the northwest corner of the house, so this new deck and this roof right here, are no closer to the front property line than the existing condition. So we're not expanding any non-conforming situation here. We're expanding it, but in a manner that does not come any closer to the front line than the current structures. And lastly, the proposed deck and the stairway on the south side of the house are no closer to the property line than the existing deck and the stairway. So there'll be no changes in this area at all. As I mentioned, the only changes will be, this piece right here is going to be brand new, and This deck is essentially gonna replace what was on the front of the house before the addition would be constructed. Section 3.C.6 of the Winchester zoning regulations allows these types of expansions by special exception that is approved by your board. Accordingly, the applicants are respectfully requesting special exception approval of the proposed expansions. I mentioned two rain gardens. We're adding these as low impact development features. They're sized to accept 1 inch of runoff from the new roof of the structure. We'll talk a little bit about the wraparound deck. After the addition is constructed, basically, as I mentioned, this part of the deck is gonna slide forward toward the lake. We have new additions here and here, and there'll be decks on the two sides, pretty much as they have them now. The existing deck, as I mentioned earlier, is 945 square feet, including the associated stairways to that deck. The proposed deck, including stairways, will be 1,291 square feet. So we have, 340 some odd square foot increase in deck space. Section 2.G.4.F of the Winchester zoning regulations precludes or prohibits an increase in the height or expansion of the deck footprint beyond 400 square feet unless this board permits the expansion by special exception. The proposed deck will be constructed at the same elevation as the existing deck, so there'll be no increases in height there. Section 2.G.4.B of the zoning regulations allows decks to extend to within 20 feet of the rear property line, or in this case, the Highland Lake, which is a requirement that supersedes the rear yard minimum setback requirement for all other districts in the town, including the Highland Lake District. As proposed, the western edge of the proposed deck will come no closer than 32.5 feet from the property line or the edge of Highland Lake. So here's a retaining wall along the lake wall or seawall. That is the property line, and our proposed deck would be 32.5 feet from the lake. The zoning regulations in the Highland Lake District allow the deck to be as close as 20 feet, but we're not coming anywhere close to that. So, in summary, the applicants respectfully request approval of the special exception that's required to expand the deck under section 2.G.4.F of the Winchester zoning regulations. So that's the second of the two special exceptions that we're seeking. With respect to impervious coverage, we drew the existing and the proposed condition right next to each other so you could kind of visually compare what's going on pre and post development here. The left side is the existing condition, the right side is the proposed condition. So here we have the deck above is kind of highlighted in this black pencil line. It's not impervious, so it doesn't play into this equation, but underneath the deck, we have a large concrete patio under existing condition. We have an outside shower stall shown in blue here, the main house shown in tan, and we have 3 storage sheds, two of which, these two are underneath the deck, but they're considered impervious because water can get through the deck and then land on the roofs of the sheds, so they're impervious. We have the utility structures down here, and then we have a 3rd storage shed, which is exposed to the atmosphere here. In addition to that, this green area is an area of crushed stone. I mentioned earlier, it's potentially can be used as parking. People can store boats on something like this, or motorhome comes to visit for the weekend, can park on there, cars can park there. So the town considers that impervious, and we've included it as such in the impervious surface coverage. Then there's a driveway out here that's entirely paved, and another little strip of crushed stone that we consider traversable, or cars could get on it, so we consider it impervious. Lastly, we have the seawall along Highland Lake, including the steps
that we included in our calculations. All told, we have 3,658 square feet, or 29.8% impervious under the existing condition. Moving to the proposed condition over here on the right, we have the main house shown in tan. We have a new roof over a portion of the deck shown in green here. We have a addition that we're proposing here. The new deck, which is pervious, it's not an impervious surface, or the stairways, but we show them for context. And the outside shower, the 2 storage sheds, these 3 will be underneath the new deck, as the old ones are. We have utility structures, and we have, utility structures here, and a 3rd storage shed right here that will stay. In order to mitigate the increased impervious that is proposed with the addition and the roof over the northerly deck, we're truncating this gravel parking area. It used to be this big. Under proposed conditions, it will shrink to this. And we're eliminating this concrete patio. So we're making up for what we're adding almost exactly by eliminating this patio and truncating this gravel surface area here. Under proposed conditions, we will have 3,639 square feet of impervious, 29.7%. It's essentially a wash. One other thing I wanted to mention, we show a small sliver of space in between the house and the storage shed that is currently non-impervious. The applicants asked us to show that it's impervious in case at some point in the future they want to connect the house to that shed somehow. It's something that's not going to happen as part of this project, but they wanted us to include the impervious surface for that potential change at some point in the future, just so that we make sure we have enough, so that when they come back, say 5 years from now, with some small proposed change to connect that shed to the house, they'll already have the impervious coverage issue settled. On the remaining sheets in our set, we have details of the rain gardens. There's a planting schedule. We have a number of plantings that are required, and they can be selected from this list of varieties of plants and shrubs and trees. Those came from the University of Connecticut rain garden site that are known to be amenable to rain gardens and thrive in this part of the country. We have a little construction detail up here on the rain garden, both the cross-section and the plan view. And we have some erosion control and water handling devices that are really fall under the purview of the Wetlands Commission, and we'll discuss those with them. We have a very comprehensive soil erosion and sediment control plan. Obviously, anything you do at Highland Lake is very sensitive. This site drains right to the lake. So we took good care to put together a solid erosion control plan, and that will go before the Wetlands Commission in September for approval.
So you've not been to wetlands yet?
No, not yet, no. Just the way the sequence fell, we applied for both on the same day, and you guys were first. So we have erosion control plan set up and ready to go for the Wetlands Commission. And that concludes the plan set, and it concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Question for Lance. There is, as I remember, because I had to go through it personally, there is some sequence of, I thought you had to go to wetlands before a special permit. And because what I thought was odd was that you don't have to go to wetlands to get a variance, but you did for a special permit. Do I have that remembered backwards?
You have that remembered correctly, but I think it's for Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm not sure it's for you.
I think it is for us.
It'd be for you as well.
I couldn't find anything in your regulations about that. I looked for the same thing. However, it's very true that the Planning and Zoning Commission, say on a special permit or like a subdivision approval or whatever, it's state law that says you cannot the Planning and Zoning Commission cannot approve or take action on the application until they have a report from wetlands. In this situation, I would rather be safe than sorry. So if we have to hold the public hearing open for a month.
So
so that
I'm
we
only
don't
going
create
off of
yeah.
memory and personal experience. However, I will throw it out to Lance, we really need to know, if you tell us that that is not the case, then I have no problem continuing
My
with this.
understanding would not be the case for you, you guys, for ZBA. Planning and zoning, yes. So I think you could make a decision tonight if you wanted, or you could table it, whatever you felt comfortable with.
I don't have a problem moving forward as long as you tell us that's not the way the regulation works.
Mm-hmm. You're good.
Okay.
Well, if I may interject, I'm a relatively conservative thinker when it comes to stuff like this.
Yes,
and
you
I've
are.
been doing this for 40 years and have had many unintended consequences happen to me over the years. Rather than create a defect or potential defect in the application if you're wrong, if we held a public hearing, that would give us a chance to research the statutes and come back and tell the commission what the statute says. If he's right, no harm, no foul, right?
Other than delaying you to the next meeting.
I mean,
But you have wetlands to do,
we have to go to wetlands anyway.
which is gonna be September and
Third
October.
Wednesday of September.
And then October again, because that's always a 60-day process with wetlands.
Yes. Yes.
So your earliest opportunity to have all of this approved would really be October. Again, this would be, I think I'd make it up to you. If you would like to continue this pending us determining for sure. I could very well be wrong. I just know from personal experience the way that it went. And I was surprised that it needed it for a special exception and not for the variance. But that could have been misinformation from a year ago.
And the same thing can be said about the four vote requirement. This isn't a variance. State statute says on variances it has to be for, or whatever, supermajority, I forget how it's worded. But this is a special exception. It's not a variance. Does the same rule apply? I don't know that yet.
It has always applied in this setting, to my experience, and I've not read it as a state law, so I can't comment on that. But it has always been the tradition of this board, anyway.
It may well be true. And, you know, I think the regulations themselves are a little bit too silent on these subjects, because there's no answer in there. I went looking. When you mentioned earlier about needing 4 votes on a special exception, I went looking in the regulations and I didn't see anything. So, okay, well, it's probably gonna fall back to state statute, whatever that says.
Yeah, so Lance, we should, having that on the record, we should absolutely get a ruling on those areas and also indicate it in the minutes of this meeting that, that the 4 vote for special exception should be researched.
Yep, I have that too. Okay.
So if you'd like to continue this, I don't, that would be completely up to you.
Well, can we delay that decision until the end, until you're ready to close me down, so that public comment can be brought in?
Yeah, I think we can,
I can kind of assess what might be the best action for my client.
we can continue the public hearing at the next meeting.
No, I think Dave's saying, could you accept public comment right now?
Oh.
And I would recommend that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'd be happy to,
In fact, we're gonna keep the public hearing open until the next meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're gonna just continue the application. Certainly, anybody in the public who wishes to speak tonight will certainly hear, but,
I kind of wish we had done that with 129 Shore, and I didn't think of it in time, unfortunately.
different.
A little bit, but
There's nothing there to actually look at.
yeah,
That was the issue.
yeah.
So, with that, first of all, are there any questions from the board on this application?
I have a question, Dave.
yes, sir.
how old is this piece of property? I'm really surprised that the porch is like 900 square feet already, and the regulations state that we should only have around 400 feet.
Well, I don't know, to answer you truthfully, I do not know the entire history of the property, when certain things were added and subtracted from the property, or even the age of the house.
Yes.
I don't know.
John,
Yes.
I can go back to 1963, and those decks were there.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions from the board? At this time, we will open it up for public comment to anyone who would wish to speak to this application. Please come on up, and if again you would state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Leah Muller. I own the property at 139 East Lake Street, directly behind this property. My concerns are reduction of lake view. I've owned this property for 27 years, and prior to that have had access to the lake right in front of my property, the next house over. My family's has been on the lake since 1912. Adding that side roof on the north side, I have concerns that it will block the very little bit of lake that I still have left. I know it's just a roof, but if you can imagine where you see the logo for Haley Ward, my house, of course, the lake sits down in a bowl. At the bottom of the bowl, my house is up higher, so I do have concerns.
You're up here, Leila?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that direction is the only spot that I have left to view the lake.
Do you have, I'm sorry, ma'am, one moment. Do you have drawings of the, in your computer of the structure?
I don't think you put the architectural on the We submitted them to the committee.
I have copies and we can look at them, but I'd
We
like,
might have them.
what I'd like you to do, if you can, is point out the addition on the drawings,
Yeah, we have, here we go.
on the exterior drawing. So let's see.
We'll start with the existing condition, which is actually the second sheet. So basically.
This may answer your question.
Yeah, so basically what you have here is a one-story structure with a walkout basement down here. So on the side, this is where the driveway is up here. It's basically 1 story high. And down here is the lawn that heads down to the lake. And reverse is true. This is the other side of the house, where the stairs come down up against Jacob's property. Pretty much at grade here, 1 story, and then walkout basement down here. From the street, from the East Lake Street side of the house, the easterly side of the house, this is kind of what you see. And from the lake, this is what you see when you drive by in a boat, this view here. So that is the existing home. Under proposed conditions, there, this is the southerly elevation. They're adding a 1-story addition right here, and there'll be pergolas over like a deck out facing the lake over here. Let's see, it's gonna be the East Lake Street view of the house will look like this, where you walk up some steps and get onto the deck with the covered roof. The 2nd-story addition is right here.
So that
You're adding 1 story.
I did not hear that in your presentation, adding a whole entire.
Well, I was
additional
talking about the special exceptions that we need for looking
Going
at it
outside
from
the
a hard.
I'm going to have to ask you to address the chair in terms of the applicant. Thank you.
I have a concern that was not mentioned as part of the presentation, that ski slope addition and pergola will definitely impede my view.
Do you have the height table?
The maximum building height in the HL district is 30 feet, if I remember correctly, right?
30 to 35.
I believe it's 30.
30.
You can look, I have the regulations here with me.
Yeah.
The architect has showed the building height on his plans on the two big elevations. So you see a dimension line right here. He calculated it at 29 feet 9 inches. So the height of this proposed structure complies with the zoning regulations, the definition of building height. The building height is measured from the average grade elevation around the building. So some of the elevation's up high, some of it's down low, some of it's on a slope on two long sides of the house. The average grade, you'll see he stopped it right here, and he started measuring up from there, and he's got a 30-foot, 29 feet 9 inch high structure according to zoning regulations. And I can look very quickly in the table and tell you what the maximum, we have it in our zoning information table on the site plans, but that, Rob just shut that down. Okay.
So that is definitely a concern for me, the height of this building. I was originally just concerned with a roof over a staircase. I am much more concerned about a whole second level being added to this. If you could please, could I see the two-tone addition? I'm just curious about the square footage that you're adding. The green part that was being added to the lake side of the house. So can you tell me the footage from west to east? How much of an addition is that?
Okay. Rob, where's the view thing? Right here? View?
What are you looking for?
I want to go full screen.
So just to be clear,
Right there.
The
You're
green
good.
part,
whoops,
going
just to be
left to
clear,
right.
the addition is on the water side of the house there, but the second story is being added back here.
Correct.
So what's the footage from west to east or
The
east to
total
west?
length of the house?
The addition.
All right. I'd have to go back to, we probably have that on the architectural plans, Rob?
Yeah, there's that, see that black line? Go to the right there.
You're asking what is the dimensions of the
Me.
green
How-
section?
How far out this is going?
Yes.
Like,
How much
Uh,
more grass area is gonna be covered?
Okay, we'll figure that out for you in a second.
So in conversations with the owner of the property, who has property in New York State, she said to me they moved from Third Bay, where they had absolutely no yard, and were thrilled when they bought this 2 years ago to have a home with a yard for their second home for their children in Independence. And I'm surprised at this point that there's such a large addition being added on. A few years back, I was here for a zoning meeting for the house that's right next door that they share a driveway for, and that home wanted to do a living roof, if you recall that. And that was denied. They recently purchased it. They all of a sudden decided that they needed more room and wanted to build an addition and convert the garage and add this living roof. A rain garden sounds wonderful, and I understand you bringing in plants and so forth from all over. My concern is my love of that lake, and plants scream to me chemicals and pesticide. I have 120 tomato plants in my yard, and I do not use chemicals. That is, what did you say, 32 feet away, less than 32 feet away from the lake?
Yes.
So that is a concern for me. The roof, and now that I know the addition, going upwards is not expanding your footprint, but I have strong concerns about the view that I purchased 27 years ago. It has been whittled down by Armand Padella on my left, and now my right is in jeopardy.
Okay.
I'm also wondering if you can tell me the dimensions of that property that you said was stone, on the.
You're talking about the parking area
On
on,
the south side of the house. it just
on the
seems-
south side?
Yeah, it seems a lot more. And I agree with you on the 60s. I remember Frank and Blanche. From
I
the-
used to hang around the house that's next door before the new one.
Oh, wow. Very good.
The dimensions of the gravel parking area, I think was her question.
The one on the south side of the house, which is along the bottom,
Yes.
that, the length of that
Current length of it?
current length, so let me just make sure I have the right scale here, is 40 feet.
And it's being reduced from 40 feet to?
And that seems to be the length. How, I'm actually curious about the width, because I don't believe that's to scale. It looks exaggerated on that map.
Well, this is part of a certified land use survey, so we have to believe the dimensions are accurate.
They are. Everything is to scale. on
Yes.
this drawing. It's 24 feet, it's being reduced from 40, what did I say, 40? 40 to 24.
And you mentioned that that green part, the addition, is going to be covering what is impervious concrete platform now that's like a downstairs deck, sort of,
Yes.
that goes out from the
Right.
sliders to the rec
That's
room
gonna be
downstairs.
removed, that concrete patio at grade level with the walkout basement. and-
For the addition, so
and-
the house is gonna be added on at 3 stories in the front by the lake.
No.
The
Only-
basement, the existing first floor,
Uh,
and now the addition second floor.
The second story addition that you, dislike is actually on the right side of that drawing only.
May I see the lake, the view from the lake? Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
No problem, that's what these hearings are for.
Thank you.
Again, this is the drawing of the property. So this is the lake is here. So the walkout underneath the deck, I presume that the walkout basement still, if I look at the front drawing, I still see underneath there. There's this story which is being added. Above it seems to be a, I'm gonna say it's a deck area. So it's open, it's not a 3-story addition. This is pergolas up top here.
So there is this is where the,
Current walkout basement.
and that walkout basement is gonna be covered by the addition, he said. And another addition is, another.
This is decking out in
Deck.
front of that. So you just as it is now, where you have a walkout basement with a floor above it, the addition's gonna be a walkout basement with a floor above it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, no, that sounds
And
right.
another impervious?
The impervious calculations factoring in the addition after the removal of the gravel and the removal of the concrete.
So are there plans to add another impervious concrete
Not
floor?
on the plans that we're looking
Okay.
at.
So that can't be grandfathered in, then we're here again and.
No, that's being removed because it's being built over.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm just curious to know if another one's gonna be built.
There's nothing on the plan that shows that, and we're approving it as the plan shows, or if we approve it.
Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else from the public to comment on this application, any further thoughts, sir, from you?
Well, we need to make a decision on whether to leave the hearing open or close it.
It seems to me if we have a question regarding the 4 versus 3 votes necessary for a special exception, I think we should research that and continue this application, leave the public hearing open until we have a ruling on that.
And the wetlands. Timing of the wetlands.
Correct, exactly. Whether wetlands is, so Lance, we need to research whether wetlands is required prior to a special exception. And we need to research if indeed the 4-vote minimum applies only to the variance. And I think it probably makes sense to leave this, to continue this until we have those answers. So,
I get you an answer, but it's not easy to find.
yeah, no, I think.
I will
Yeah.
though, for next
And
one.
we need to have a definitive answer on those 2 questions. So if I may have a motion to continue this application to our next meeting, which is going to be September the 26th, 2023.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We will continue this application at our next meeting.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So Lance, you wanted something back on both
Yeah, for both of these would be helpful. just to
East
say
Lake
this-
that we're just continuing it? You want me to just make a note on the motions that they've been continued?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Dave, can I ask you a question since you know everything? Can the zoning board of appeals make a decision without having actual building plans in front of them on a proposed structure?
I've never seen it.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like we made the right choice there,
We
Lance.
did. Yeah.
No
We
question
did.
about it.
Yeah,
So,
No, there's-
Speculation a
So,
lot.
yeah, there's.
we don't
Next
approve,
door to that. I know I can't comment on that as like
yeah.
a member. I don't know if I should comment in this.
Well, you would have to recuse from that one. Now, you were not seated tonight, so you didn't have to recuse, right? But if you were a seated member, you'd have to recuse. And if you wanted to recuse, you could actually, well, recusing typically means you leave the room. So if you're not seated, you could actually be a member of the public, because
Yeah,
he
you
would.
just can't
he-
comment, you can't vote.
Right.
You can comment
But
as
it
a
can-
board member or nothing.
You
or
could
ask-
comment as a
or-
member of the
or
public.
Question, or question as a, ask a question
That's
as a
true,
board
you
member.
could do that.
Right, you couldn't do anything as a board member, you could do it as a member of the public.
Okay. I think my questions were kind of answered anyway, not approving a hypothetical building.
Right, and
Well,
we don't,
I think we did the right thing doing that there, because that just,
Yeah, it just,
you know, doing the complete opposite would open a complete can of worms.
right, and it's an unusual application to begin with, because it's a non-conforming property that has no existing on it, so, I mean, I think we absolutely did the right thing, and we look at the application when it's complete and go from there. Next, our approval of minutes from both June 27th and July 25th. So, Lance, just a comment about the minutes. I would ask that whoever creates the minutes, whether it's you or a member of the office, the team, go back and look at minutes from over the last few years in specific. They are very detailed in terms of questions that are asked and, that sort of thing. And honestly, we're not getting that kind of detail. So I would ask I would actually ask, and you have the recordings from these two? I would actually ask that we update these with more detail prior to entering them into the record.
I did have a conversation with Jamie, who was taking the minutes from the last meeting, saying that you historically have always wanted the conversation. Unfortunately, we're having a little, you almost need stenographer notes for these kind of things, and it's not legally required, and that's what I think every commission should realize, that as long as you get the highlights, the motions. I realize the conversation is helpful, so we're struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah, when we go back and look at minutes, and there's specific questions that are asked or details in the minutes, it has always been helpful. There have been times where we had a person tonight who had a variance from June of 1984.
Right.
I didn't go back and try to dig out the 1984 minutes, but there have been cases where we've had an application come in and it's back in 6 months, and we really need to refer back to the minutes and the discussions that were had. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not the town attorney, and I certainly don't have I don't know what's required. I know what we've had, and it has been incredibly helpful. And, when you have applications that are difficult, they particularly come into play. So, if it's something we need to discuss further in terms of what's possible or what's required or what we're going to do moving forward, I just don't, I think, and we need to get a bit more detailed with it.
It's been tough because we don't have consistency for taking minutes as well, and this is happening on all the commissions at the moment. So the answer is we can do better with the YouTube recording, but it's ours. I mean, it's
Oh, no, it's detailed. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how it was done prior, you know, but it was done well.
Ideally, would be you're typing them as you go along. I'm not really that skilled, and honestly, I'd like to take taking the minutes off my plate because it's not my strength, and second of all, it's like doesn't give me an opportunity to really participate because I'm worried about that. And not so much with you guys; it's more with Planning and Zoning Commission because their meetings are longer. But I know what you were used to, and Pam did an outstanding job. But she spent hours on that, and town paid for that, but we can't do that anymore. So we're gonna come up with a better system, but
Are you saying we don't have the budget for it anymore?
we should have like an actual recording clerk that can take notes as we go along, in my opinion. And that's what we're
And-
trying to get to.
When you said we can't do that like we used to do it, has there been a decision made not to have someone do that?
It's the overtime for it that's paid,
Okay.
so.
Well,
Just one thing. Before the next time we have this meeting, we should all definitely go down and drive down to that piece of property and look at it. I've been down there a couple of times.
which property are you referring to?
The one over there at 149 East Lake Street, the last one we just discussed.
The one we
With
continued.
Batista, yeah. It's, you would be surprised to see it. And I know a lot of people don't look at the properties sometimes. I always try to make sure that I go out there, look at it, walk around, have an idea of what's going on. They're not gonna throw you out, and if they throw you out, you tell them that you're from the zoning board and you have to look at these properties, and you're gonna come up with some facts, and you're gonna be able to make a better decision. Just don't assume what everybody tells you here. Like that young lady over here, she had a very good point. And there was another issue, another case that she mentioned with the lawn garden or something on the roof, and I remember that.
I remember that case too, and we can't, I don't want to,
Yes.
you know, have any further comment about this case, because we have to keep it in the public forum, but, yeah, no, I think in general, it's a good idea for all of us to get out and look at these properties when possible, and, I mean, I don't really even know, I don't know if we have a legal right to go look at them or walk on the
You
properties.
do,
You do.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
And-
once
and
it's posted,
Right.
that basically.
And if they throw you out, I don't think they will, so.
Yeah, I don't think most people.
Be
are
careful, however,
accommodating.
when you go out and look at these
My
properties.
wife actually ran into my truck with her e-bike. Coming
Damn.
down the driveway.
Be
So
careful
they
not to
know.
have conversations with
Right.
the applicants when you're out there doing it, though.
That's correct.
We had conversation because she fell over in the driveway.
As long as you're not talking about the property, you can talk about her falling over in the weather.
Is there any regulation on other people's views? I didn't see any.
So, views are actually not protected.
Okay, so that, I guess I thought.
There
that
is
was
no
on our-
statute that protects a view specifically. It's really,
Not in this
it
township,
really
no.
becomes, the short answer is no. There's
Yeah.
no, there is no view protection.
I just thought it was a moot point in general. That's all. There's no view protection.
There is none.
It's very interpretive. I mean, someone could.
I
say,
mean, you know, you can take it into account, and you can certainly take the public hearing comments into account, but specifically, it's not part of the regulations.
But there is the protection to protect the lake. And if this thing goes through, you're gonna probably see a lot more other applications where people wanna have bigger decks, expand them because he wasn't allowed to do it. and,
I think I think we really should table any further discussion on that application until we're in the public forum.
Yes.
But certainly, these are things that will be taken into consideration. Getting back to the minutes, I'm going to ask actually that we have a motion to approve the minutes, and then you can vote yea or nay. So,
Well, if you have any edits that you specifically want to see in the minutes as well, you should say it now so we can put it in for next time.
Well, so-
But I'm gonna ask Jamie to actually do hers over again from the YouTube recording, because we did get that meeting.
So I will,
Is it, just a question on that too, you mentioned about, isn't there like a posting? that
There
for-
was a posting.
There was a posting to
Yeah.
have somebody, record
Yeah.
minutes for some of these,
I think that's still,
Some of these
that
board
job
meetings-
posting's still out there.
I mean,
Just not getting the interest, unfortunately.
Can't the YouTube videos be used as minutes? I mean, they're pretty accessible and they're on the internet. I mean, if you really want to review the minutes, I mean, you could watch it in real time.
I don't know how
See
long
what
they're
it's saying.
stored, would be the concern.
well, the other concern I have too is I do watch some of these other meetings, like the Board of Selectmen, Planning and Zoning, sometimes it's very difficult
To
to
hear.
hear
everybody.
what's being said at this table, what's being said over there.
We do have microphones for that table, and
Yeah.
we should set them up, right?
Or maybe some technology to
It's just, it's
record
still,
the
it's still a
meetings
little,
and
it's still a little
transcribe
difficult to sometimes hear them either way. So.
I like the paperless idea with this, but I'm gonna get a stiff neck if we're gonna be looking up at this all the time.
Well, then we had over here too.
Yeah, you almost need like, we're gonna go out and spend money and get 2 more monitors for here, but, so,
So I would just say for the minutes, if there's anything that's blaring that you said wasn't in the minutes that you should be, let me know and we can add it. But I am gonna ask Jamie to take another stab at.
yeah,
doing
so,
them over.
so looking at the one from June 27th, the minutes, simply say that we called the meeting to order, that we read the applications, we read the motions and what the vote was. There's no detail at all about the actual public hearing. So I guess the edit I would have is references to the finer points or the more important points of the actual public hearing. For example, you know, in tonight's meeting, the comments from the young woman who commented about this last application, her comments should be on the record in the minutes. You know, particularly as you get into the whole view discussion, you know, that could at least be on there. So I think we just need detail, Lance, about the public hearing. And again, I can only go back to reference what we were doing prior. Now, if you tell me that is not required, it's not legal, and the town's not gonna do it, then I guess we have to have a different discussion on what they're gonna look like. But in the meantime, you know, if we're gonna approve the minutes on the record, I don't know, it's hard to approve them when they're very, very basic about, yes, we were here, we called this thing we called the application, we read the motion, and we voted on it. There's no reference whatever to the public hearing.
And if we have to go back and look at this, for whatever reasons, we're not gonna know what we're looking at.
Right. And again, if we've got you know, if each of the boards needs to have a conversation with the Board of Selectmen or with, you know, our acting or current town manager, then let's have it and find out what the actual requirements are gonna be. And then we know how to move forward. But right now, we're approving these minutes or not approving these minutes based on very, very limited information.
Yep.
So with that, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes for June 27th. We have to vote on it. Someone approve the motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay. Same situation on the minutes for July 25th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 25th?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, let's see if we can, and Lance, if, you know, if we've got to get together with the other.
It is a conversation that has been happening, but you're right. And I think you, Steve, and George have also expressed a concern with the minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I get it.
Yeah.
But you
And
have
if,
to realize-
and if we have to have Steve and George and I meet with Josh until he leaves, or the acting town manager, or if we've got to come and speak to the board, whatever, let's figure out how we're going to handle it, because otherwise we're going to go through the exercise of, we just have to have them. I mean,
We need a stenographer who's
we
retired.
do, we do.
That would be ideal.
All right,
And then the last thing I wanted to say is, this meeting was delayed 1 week, and I hate to say it again, to pick on Lance, but we didn't get this available till Friday the 25th. I was just wondering if it was delayed by a week, why couldn't we get it?
Oh, I'm sorry, the application, oh, wait a minute, we did have everything in
Yeah.
place.
We-
Yeah, I'm
we
sorry,
did-
we
did
could have
it
still
the
gotten
last
it to you a
minute.
week before.
And as a result, you don't have that much time to look at stuff or drive around, and it's not the best idea. I remember we used to get it maybe 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time sometimes when Pam was here.
Actually, when the public notice goes out that week before, we could put packets together that time.
yeah, we'll
We've
take
always
them as
just-
early as you can get them,
All right.
typically.
We've
Because we
always
like to try to
done
do some
the
homework on them.
Thursday before the meeting with, obviously, because we're still accepting applications, but if you want it before that, that's fine. We
Okay.
can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any correspondence for the board?
Nope.
As a heads up, I will be out of town at September's meeting.
Joy.
Yes. I would love to actually be here for a couple of these that have been continued, but
Everything's coming back.
I have business that is 3,000 miles away, and I cannot make it back in time, so just a heads up.
So one concern there for 129, especially if it was going to go to a vote, then they would need a unanimous vote for approval. Because it would only be 4 people.
Yeah, 'cause
Well,
He's
No,
got to recuse.
he's gotta recuse himself, yeah, exactly. And so in that case, the question would be like, you know, do they wanna continue to go forward with that because of that? I mean, we can entertain that at the next meeting, we don't need to entertain it right now.
Okay.
They may not even be done with the wetlands.
I want to give them some guidance, though.
Yeah, so typically, when we only have 4 seated in any application, we will tell them the 4 rule. It's got to be unanimous.
Yep.
And, you know, and I tend to even go a little step further and say, and it's more difficult to get unanimous 4 than it is to get 4 out of 5 when you have more seated members. So I don't think it's inappropriate to give them guidance on that.
All right, so I will let them know.
Yeah.
And it sounded like they were leaning just because of their own personal travel, that they might want to come.
Yeah, it
by
sounded like that
October
first one was
anyways.
gonna be October, and the last one that was continued, they've got wetlands, which won't be till October. So if they want
And
to.
I'm going to find out for sure, but I think you could have entertained it if you wanted to. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Dave is like as professional as they come, so
Entertained.
like you could have made a decision on that application before wetlands had ruled.
Oh,
Because it's a special permit. It's not.
well, the reason I brought it up is when I went through my own, I was told I had to get the wetlands before the special permit, but not the variance, which I thought was odd because the variances are more difficult,
Right.
right? And I thought, well, why would I have, you know, so that's what I was told, which is why I questioned it tonight.
Okay. Which is a great question. I didn't know the answer, but I will for next time.
Okay.
For sure. And it worked out fine that it was this application.
And they're in no
So-
rush because they're going to have
Correct.
to go to wetlands anyway.
Right.
And they won't be done with that till the end of October. Any other business? With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Lance, was this just for tonight, or?
You can keep it. I just figured all 3 of them had to do with Highland Lake, so it might be helpful to.
But I think they'll continue these 2, and you'll see what you get. But you know, we were able to